Hey guys, it's me, Pre, aka that Pokemon boy, and today, that was a very weird, that was quite different to my normal, well, it was the same words, it was just, okay, you know what, never mind. Anyway, as you can tell from your screens, I've got the second IEP game of the week for you guys. This is going to be against Barry, who is the coach of the New Bark Nuzzle, formerly the Hot Home Happy Hour. They've had a name change this season. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, he was pretty much up there for one of the best teams last season until he sadly had to drop out, which is fine, but he was back, you know, he took some time off away from the league, which is fine, obviously. And he was back now, and this time I'm unlucky because he got put into my conference. So I had to play him 4 times, and this is the first of 4, and his team was really bulky. So I'll run you through what I brought. I brought Crustle. I didn't see a spinner or a defogger on his team, so I thought, okay, if we bring Crustle and get all my hazards up, I'm pretty sure either he has to stay in and take hits constantly, or he has to switch, in which case he'll take 25 from the spikes and 12 from the rocks every time he switches in, which is 35, or at least 30%, and possibly more. Anyway, yeah. So I brought Crustle with Custard Berry, so if he did hit me and brought me down to Sturdy, at least I got rocks and spikes. That was the plan. Then I brought Tentacle as a specially defensive wall, and also because this is my main way of stopping Amoonguss, because I brought Safety Goggles Tentacle, so I had Haze, Toxic Spikes, Scald, and Rapid Spin. This meant that if he tried to get hazards up on me, I could get rid of him. If I needed to Scald the Aggron or any basically physical attackers he brought, I could do that. I also had Toxic Spikes. Like I said, I wanted a hazard stack, really hazard stack, because I knew that could help me. So I had Toxic Spikes, and Amoonguss can't do anything to this because Sludge Bomb is resisted, Spore wouldn't work because of Safety Goggles, any other powder moves wouldn't work either, and Giga Drain, because I had Liquid Ooze, would just hurt him. Next I brought Mega Heracross with Knockoff, Rock Blast, Pin Missile, and instead of Close Combat I went for Brick Break for one of two reasons really. The first one was I didn't want to ruin my high defenses because I knew how bulky of a team he had, and I couldn't afford for him to whittle me down with just one attack. And secondly, I brought Brick Break because often Barry likes to run screens and reflect, so light screen and reflect, sorry. So I thought Brick Break would help me get rid of him if he chose to bring him. Then I had Life Orb Latias with 3 attacks recover as usual. I didn't bring Draco, I brought Dragon Pulse instead because Dragon Pulse still does enough to kill this Tyrantrum. And then I had Shadow Ball and Psyshock. Psyshock was mainly to hit Conk if he brought Conkeldor, to hit Cofagrigus if he was specially defensive Cofagrigus, and to hit Amoonguss. Next I brought Choice Bad Talonflame because I figured if he brought, basically the biggest threat I saw to my team was him bringing one of his Charizard Mega Revolutions, because obviously Barry drafted Charizard last season. He has it again this season, which means he could have brought Y or he could have brought X. So after Rocks, which he wouldn't be able to get rid of thanks to Crustle, after Rocks, Brave Bird kills either one of them straight up. So that's why I brought Talonflame, because if he brought the one big threat to my team, which he didn't, it would take care of him. Otherwise Talonflame was a dead draw, as you'll see in the battle. And then I brought Expert Belt Klawitza. I brought this because I felt as if I wanted to have something that could do damage to a lot of his team super effectively without having to be locked in, and without having the Life Orb recoil. So I went for Expert Belt because I felt as if something super effective is going to get closer and closer to Okos or to Chaos. So let's get started. I lead Heracross as he leads Tyrantrum. Now I predicted a switch here into Cofagrigus because or into Crash, because my obvious play here is Close Combat, which would kill him. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it would. So I thought, okay, he'll go for one of the switches, and so I went for Knockoff, as you'll see. I didn't Mega Evolve. I'll explain why, because if Crest or Cofagrigus is carrying the Will-O-Wisp or Toxic, then I could leave normal Heracross in and get the Guts boost. That's the only reason I didn't Mega Evolve straight away. He reveals the Aerial Ace, and at this point I was like, what? What is going on? What is going on? Because Aerial Ace, I did not expect that. And we live on 2, and I went for the knockoff, and he stayed in. I got rid of his choice scarf. That's huge, as you'll see later. He switches into Aggron. I was getting the hell out of there. I went into Crustle. I thought, okay, this is fine. He goes for the heavy slam. That does 30. Crustle, you beast. I get rocks up as he gets his rocks up. I'm fine with that. I give his spikes. He goes into Caphagrigus. Still hasn't killed me. Obviously, I went for the second layer of spikes. Here, I was thinking, should I knock off first? Because obviously I don't need sturdy now. So I was thinking, should I knock off first? I went for spikes instead, and he actually will-o-wisp me, which was good play on his part. You know, I should have knocked off first, because at least that way I would have done more damage. I become Mummy as he reveals the Hex set, which I was pretty sure as soon as he went for the will-o-wisp. I go into Klawitza thinking, okay, here my obvious play is Dark Pulse, because that pretty much kills this Caphagrigus straight up if I'm Specs. The only switch he has into Dark Pulse or into Klawitza at all really is his Amoonguss. So I predicted Amoonguss coming in. I went for the Ice Beam. I go for the Ice Beam and it doesn't kill it. It only takes him down to 15. Goes to 22 and I'm thinking, okay, Dark Pulse will pretty much kill, so that's the safest play here. As he goes into Crest, I make the right decision there. He's at 47 and another Dark Pulse would kill, but he's faster, he reveals. So I go for the next Dark Pulse, and obviously Moonlight is saving him health. So I go for the Toxic. I go for the Scald, thinking if I get banned, that's okay, but obviously he went for the Toxic, which doesn't exactly help. And I predicted him to go for the Moonlight, so I went into Latias to get some pressure on this thing, basically. If he went for the Toxic, I was okay with that. I am life orb, and I do take the 12% for rocks, but Shadow Ball I thought would do enough. It doesn't, but I get the Spadef drop, which is nice, which is unlucky for Barry. As I take the life orb and the Toxic, as he takes the burn, he goes into P2, which I was okay with, because I went for the Dragon Pulse. And at this point, I think, okay, I can't afford Latias to take any more damage, so I go into Tentacle as he recovers. I predicted Caphagrigus to come in here, so I went for the Toxic Spikes, thinking, you know, like I said, Hazard Strike. I wish I went for Scald, because then I would have killed this thing straight up, and it would have just been easier. But I go for the second layer of Toxic Spikes, as he misses the will-o-wisp. Miss. That's pretty big, as you'll see later. I go into Klawitza, as he goes for the Hex, and that does a lot, but I live. I didn't think he'd go for Hex, I thought he'd go for will-o-wisp. That was a great play on Barry's part. He saw something status coming in, so he just went straight up for the Hex. He goes into P2, who takes 25 from the rocks, 12 from the spikes, gets Toxic. I go for the Dark Pulse, as he gets, as I die there. So I bring in Tentacle, thinking, okay, Scald is good enough here. He goes in for Amoonguss and takes loads, and obviously the spikes go. But at that point, really the only thing the spikes could have Toxic was the Caphagrigus and the Tyrantrum. So it done its job considering the P2 was well down. I went for the second Scald thinking Caphagrigus would come in, as he went for the Spore. Then I went for another Scald, again thinking Caphagrigus is going to come in, and at this point I'm just fishing for burns in case he switches. And I go for the Scald again, and he's not switching, and I don't get the burn, as he goes for the Stun Spore again. And finally he switches, but he goes into P2, which is a clever play, because then he gets to see what I was going to go for. I was going to go for a Scald anyway, as he goes for the Caphagrigus. I go for the Scald, and I kill the Caphagrigus, as he goes into Tyrantrum, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to get rid of these rocks, so basically I can't afford to let Tentacle die, because this was my thinking here. I'm pretty sure I outspeed Crest with my Heracross. I EV'd it so that if he was Trick Room, I'd still outspeed. No, I wouldn't outspeed in Trick Room, which was risky, but I thought if he doesn't bring Trick Room on turn he's setting it up, that'd be useful. Heracross is at 2%, which means he dies on the switch in from the rocks. Now, Heracross is my win condition because Latias can take care of the Tyrantrum now that his Choice Scarf is gone, and he can take care of the Crest. But that Aggron pretty much straight up walls my Latias, and my Latias was Toxic. So what I did here was I went into Talonflame to basically sack Talonflame. He takes 50 from rocks, goes to the Dragon Claw, that's fine. Because all I need to do here, effectively, is let Tentacle come in on something that I outspeed, so everything but Tyrantrum, get the Rapid Spin off, and then Heracross can come in and pretty much kill everything. Go for the Shadow Ball because that was the safest play, and I'm okay with this. So I go to down to 22. He brings in the Amoonguss, which takes 9. As I recover, this was a safe recover because he can't Spore my Latias, so I thought the most he could do is Giga Drain. Exactly what he does. I'm fine with that. I take 49. I'm thinking, okay, maybe he'll switch here. So I go for the second recover, but he just carries on with the Giga Drain, which basically tells me, okay, he's going to sack the Saloons, which I was okay with. I go down to 70 as now he makes the switch. Basically, he was getting up to a regenerator range. I go for the Shadow Ball, kill the Crest. I'm still in with Latias at this point, and I'm at 36 as he brings in the Aggron. Great play there. That was the correct play. I go for the Shadow Ball because it's the only thing I have that Aggron won't resist. He goes for the Heavy Slam, kills my Latias, but at that point, Latias has done his job. As I bring in Tentacle, this is a free Rapid Spin. I knew that, and I was hoping he'd kill this thing now. As he goes to the Earthquake, okay, it's huge now because it's basically on a roll. Well, it's not. If he was max defense, max HP, I could kill this thing with a Brick Break. So I Mega Evolve, hoping he's not got speed EVs, and that's exactly what I do. Now it gets interesting because he takes 25 and then 12 from the rock, so he's at 25%. So basically I counted the regenerator there. Now, I've got a few options here, right? Brick Break doesn't kill, so that's not really an option. Rock Blast can kill, but it's only 90% accurate. Pin Missile will kill, because skill link, obviously. So Pin Missile kills, but 95% accuracy, I cannot risk the miss. I could go for Knockoff, but I didn't know if Knockoff would kill, because if he was max HP, max physical defense, I was almost guaranteed to kill. So I went for the safe play, I went for the knockoff and I killed him. After the match, I calced to see, you know, like what my Latias or the Tentacle was doing with the Skulls. This thing was specially defensive, I think. Judging by the calcs, I'd say it was specially defensive, which is okay because that basically means it wasn't a roll. So yeah, GG Barry, because this is I can't remember any IEP battle being closer than this, just based off of HP. You know, if you take opinions into account, then yeah, maybe there were closer ones. But based off of HP, nothing yet has been 2 HP. So 2% of HP, sorry. So GG Barry, and that could have gone either way, really. But that was a great battle. It does mean we go 2-0 for the week, and it means we get a strong start, just like last year. But obviously, then we lost the next game, which was against Jet, and our next game is against Jet, so I'm shitting myself for that, basically. But yeah, it was good to get the win. Yeah, it was only a 1-0, but it was important to get that win because Barry, forget just in my division, Barry's a contender for the whole league. So to get a win on him now, that boosts my confidence a lot. And it was important because Connor, the coach of the Pin Missile, who's also in our league, in our division, he's also got a chance of making it through. You know, as good as us, so it was important that I got the 2 wins straight away off the bat. So yeah, question of the day is going to be, who do you think was man of the match? This is a pretty similar question to before, the one I asked against Ollie as well. So do expect this question a lot to come up in the IEP battles towards the beginning, but yeah, in my opinion, man of the match, this might seem a bit odd, I'm going to give it to Crystal. I have to give it to Crystal, because without him stacking these hazards that you still see here, you know, I don't win this game. It's as simple as that. I just don't, because Crystal did a hell of a job to stay in there and get these hazards up. The rocks and the 3 spikes, which basically meant, as you saw with his Amoonguss towards the end, he took 30 every time he came in. It neutralized his regenerator. And, you know, with bulky teams, it's really important to have hazards. So I think Crystal was man of the match. But in the comment section down below, do let me know what you think was man of the match. I think Latias again had a good shift to a certain extent, because I think he was important in wearing certain things down, and Heracross, you know, it cleaned up towards the end. But play of the game has got to be Barry's turn 1 aerial ace Tyrantrum. I did not expect that. We talked about it afterwards, and he said he brought Tyrantrum Choice Scarf just for one thing, and that was for this Heracross, because he said Heracross had a great matchup against the team, and I agree with that. I knew it, and that's why I brought Heracross, because, you know. So yeah, GG Barry. And that's pretty much it. Next week, well, this will be uploaded on Thursday or Friday, depending on when. No, Friday or Saturday, depending on when everything else goes up. And then that'll be it for a couple of days in terms of the IEP videos. I'll probably go back to my regular uploads. But yeah, I know I've been uploading a lot about the IEP lately. That's because the season is starting. After that, you should see more regular, kind of just, you know, 2 uploads a week, or even just the one with 2 battles. So yeah, keep an eye out for that, guys. But for now, hey guys, you've reached the end of my video. To show my thanks for you watching the whole thing, here's a picture of Jesus riding Arceus.